Hello class, how are you doing? This is the last segment of lecture exam and toxoplasmosis. So after this, you are ready for to take the exam number 2. So the name of the disease is toxoplasmosis. Like you have studied a few things, like the name of the disease for Plasmodium is malaria. The name of the disease for Giardia is giardiasis. So the name of disease for this organism that we are going to study here in a minute in some detail, it is toxoplasmosis, okay? So a little bit of history. This is the organism that I worked with when I was in Tennessee, and then that's why I'm giving you a little bit more information than other organisms. So toxo, it means arc, like an arc, and then plasma, it means form. So these two scientists, Nicole and Mansous, back in 1908, when they discovered this organism, they call it Toxoplasma, arc body, and that's what they saw in the microscope. And then Gandhi was the name of the rodent they found it in, so they call it Toxoplasma gondii. And the next sentence is Tenodactylus gondii, and it's a lab rabbit, or as I said, it's a rodent, we call it. Typically only causes harm in immunocompromised patients who have HIV. You know, HIV itself, you already know that, does not kill. It's the other organisms, it's a secondary infection, they call it, that cause death in these in the people who are infected with HIV. So anyhow, parasitize nearly all mammals and many birds, and it kills marsupials and wallabies. What those two sentences say, that the mammals and birds that become infected with it, they usually, what happened, their immune system kicks in and slow them down. However, these two organisms, marsupial and wallabies, you know, their immune system, they do have immune system, but they have not, you remember I talked about that, parasitism, commensalism, mutualism over a period of time. What scientists are believing that these organisms, marsupials and wallabies, they have not come over it, crossed this infection for a long period of time, so their body learns to live with them. However, in you and I, if we become infected with it and we are not immunocompromised, we can live with this for normal life. There is no hazard. We'll talk about other effects and so on and so forth. Here is the organisms, Tunisian rodents, Tenodactylus gondii. Okay, this is the life cycle of this parasite. I hope you get a gist of it. You know what is going on. This is unique among parasites. This is a unique parasite that it acts like this. So let's talk about it. And I hope you learn it, you know it, because there are some multiple choice questions. And then of course, one of your or two of the essay questions are related to this. So what I want to say, definitive host, that cats are the only definitive host. And it means sexual reproduction of these parasites, microgamete and macrogamete, they come together in the intestine of the cat and only cat. No other, well, feline family, wild cat, domestic cat, any organism you have, the male and female come together. And then in the feces of the cat, the oocyst is released, and oocyst has only, okay, oocyst has only one nucleus, right? When they are released, and we talked about this, and undergoes sporogeny. In 1 to 4 days, the oocyst will develop 8. From 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, and it stops. 8 sporozoids, we call it. Okay, and then that the oocyst can infect another cat. Okay, if another cat, these things can become airborne, come across the feces that has been around for a while. This oocyst can stay in the environment for about 6 months. Okay, so if another cat comes across with it, it can become infected with it, so that cat can become infected with it. Okay, once a cat becomes infected, remember, they have it for life. Then other organisms can become infected with it as well. It's a mice, okay, and they ingest the oocyst, okay, and when they ingest the oocyst, another cat, a healthy cat, comes eat the mice, then that cat can become infected. So 2 ways that cat can become infected: from oocyst of another cat, and from catching a mice that ate the oocyst of that cat, and now a healthy cat eats that mice. Then the other way that, when the cat poops and then other insects like flies and cockroaches and so on and so forth, other organisms go sit on top of the feces of the cat, and then the oocyst attached to the legs of these insects, and they fly and sit on our food, or sit on farm animals' food, and then farm animals' food or us, we become infected. Okay. Another way that we human can become infected, so we talked about Symbiotic Cycle, the cycle that goes out in the wild, that's called Symbiotic Cycle. Okay, that's called Symbiotic Cycle. But what happens, how we human become infected? If farm animals become infected, we drink goat's milk, then we can become infected. If farm animals become infected, we eat, then we can become infected. Excuse me. Wow. Okay, so I've said enough about life cycle of Toxoplasma gondii. Let's move on, and as I go on, and I'm hoping you will learn a little bit more. So this is the oocyst right here in the cat feces. This is all cat feces, and remember, oocysts can be found only and only in cat feces, domestic cat, wild cat, any other cat. Okay, as long as they belong to feline family. Now, why is that? They have the right enzyme, they have the right protein molecule, they have the right things, so it becomes that. In us, in dogs, in no other organisms, feces, you will see this. Okay, let's move on. And then when an animal, a cat or a human or a dog, a chicken, a goat, a sheep, when they ingest that oocyst right here, of course, the oocyst has to be, this is unsporulated oocyst. Remember I talked about that. It takes about 1 to 4 days for that becomes 8 sporozoites in here, right? You remember that? It takes about 1 to 4 days. So that sporulated, this can infect human or another animal. This cannot, I should write that down. This is yes. This can infect a human being. Okay, so that's the difference. The oocyst has to stay in environment between 1 to 4 days. Okay, now when we ingest these oocysts, sporulated oocysts, remember that we talked about it, sporulated oocysts, they go inside of our gut, any other animal gut, cat, as I said, cat, dog, human, mice, rabbit, whatever you name it. Not fishes, I mentioned, and mammals and birds. Okay, remember that. Okay, so when they go inside of the gut of these organisms, they multiply, and this is what Mansus and Nicole saw on the microscope. It's like a tox, okay, arc shape, and plasma, it means body. So that's what they call it, Toxoplasma gondii. And they are multiplying very rapidly inside of the body, inside of the gut, and they spread to the body, brain, nose, all over, liver, everywhere. They go everywhere. And that stage of the organism is called it means fast, zooid, one word, tachyzoid. It means they're multiplying very rapidly all over the body. And then what happens after a few days, weeks, months, the immune system kicks in and slow down the multiplication of tachyzoids. So they form a cyst, and that cyst, this is a brain of a mouse, it's called Brady. Brady, it means what? Slow, zooid. Brady zooid, okay? And we took that picture from brain of a mouse. And that's a Brady zooid right there. We infected the mouse, we sacrificed the mouse, we cut the brains, thin sections, very thin sections. So we saw that one there. So immune system kicks in and it goes Brady zooid. What happens in people who have it for years and years and years and never get rid of it? The cycle goes between tachyzoids and bradyzoids, tachyzoids and bradyzoids. You know, the bradyzoids break open, multiply quickly, and then as a tachyzoid, and then our immune system comes down, say, slow them down to bradyzoids. And then bradyzoid, after a while, breaks down open, tachyzoid, and then immune system comes in, slow them down, bradyzoids. Anyhow, that's another bradyzoid, okay? So let's go back to life cycle now. I'm keeping what is happening in the wild a little bit of the symbiotic cycle. Let's go talk about domestic cycle, what happens in a case of human. So cat is the only definitive host, and cat released, this is the slide is up, it's reversed, sorry about that, just bear with me. So the cat released the oocyst in the feces of the cat, and then the oocyst, it takes 1 to 4 days to become sporulated, and then farm animals ingest that sporulated oocyst, most likely, except pigs. Pigs can eat mice, rats in the pen, but other animals usually don't eat, mice and rats. So what happens, that is one way the farm animals can become infected by, in farms, cats roam around, little domestic cats roam around all over, and they can have feces all over. They catch birds all over, or other, mice, and then their feces, so it can get contaminated with the food of the farm animals. And then, of course, in case of pigs, if they eat a mice or rat, they can eat a bradyzoid. That bradyzoids can infect pig, okay? And then other animals, they ingest the oocyst. Then we human ingest either the meat of the farm animals or the oocyst accidentally from feces of the cat. As I said, the flies come and sit on the cat feces and sit on our food, and we eat our hamburger, for example. I'm just giving you an example. Or eat our stew, and then we become infected with it. So the signs and symptoms in human, usually for a week, we have flu-like symptoms. We have runny nose, fever, aches, and after a week, it goes away. You don't even think about it. You think you caught a cold, okay? But the other problem that we human has is when they are pregnant, if women during pregnancy, they become infected with it, then the child can be aborted or be mentally retarded, can be born mentally retarded. Let's elaborate on those. Here is a life cycle again. So I'm not gonna go over it. And what happens if we human become infected with it, what happens during pregnancy, that baby can be either miscarried or the baby can be mentally retarded. However, if a person gets it 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, and they become pregnant now, nothing happens. Okay, I hope I made that clear. As I said at the beginning, half of us in the population have Toxoplasma based on many, we have the antibodies for it. Many studies they have done. They took large samples, small samples, and They've done studies after studies. 50% of the population have Toxoplasma gondii, population, male and female. So it's not sexually transmitted, this parasite, but when women get it during pregnancy, they never had it. And when they get it during pregnancy, then the odds is 50-50. It's a Russian roulette. Have you guys played Russian roulette? Please. So if they know for sure they became infected during pregnancy by doing antibody tests, they catch a cold, they go to a doctor. I say, doc, check me for Toxoplasma gondii. Doc think you're crazy. But they go ahead, they're not like my doctor, they're like your doctor. They listen to you and they check you for antibody. I like my doctor. But anyhow, they check you for antibody for Toxoplasma gondii and say, you have it. And then you check yourself before you become pregnant for Toxoplasma gondii. And now they say, you have Toxoplasma gondii, then you should get on the clindamycin, which I'll drug I will talk about. Then it's the possible, 50-50 possible that your child can be either miscarriage or mentally aborted. So transmission, there are 3 routes of transmission: congenital, carnivorism, fecal, or oral. You know that. Congenital, it means from mother, it can get to the fetus. And when it gets to the fetus, most likely the fetus immune system, they have hydrocephalic brain. Carnivorism, by eating meat, okay, that is not cooked well, and I will elaborate on that. And fecal or oral, when you go gardening, you don't know a cat, a neighbor's cat, or some common stray cat have walked over there and pooped. So you're just gardening, you're not wearing a mask, becomes airborne, the oocysts become airborne, it goes to your mouth, you come home, and then, wow, you have a flu-like symptoms, and then after a week, it goes away. You never think about it twice that you have Toxoplasma. Here is a such a hydrocephalic child. The brain is full of water, and what happens after this picture was taken from this baby, the baby died. Okay, so that is due to Toxoplasma gondii. Okay, let's say that number is true. Okay, I'm just making up some numbers and right there. 30% of childbearing age. Not every woman in the United States, in the world, can have children. Younger children and women who pass the menopause. So let's say 30% of the young age in the United States have the antibody against Toxoplasma gondii. So they have the antibody. Do I have to worry about them? Give them any advice? What to do, what not to do? Or the other 70% I have to worry about and say, okay, listen, this is what you need to do. If you're planning to become pregnant, and if you don't know when you become pregnant or not, the other 70%, I have to give them advice. These 30% that they have the antibodies, I should not worry about them. Okay. So control of the drug that I would like you to know the name of the drug. Do not worry about any of that information. That's a lot of immunology. I'm not going to go ahead and talk about it. But this is the name of the drug. I would like you to know clindamycin. Clindamycin is the drug of choice. Clinicians, doctors, if they know for sure that the person has Toxoplasma gondii, they became infected with Toxoplasma gondii during pregnancy, then they give them that drug. Okay, they don't give them to that 30% of women. They don't give them to those. They don't give them to the other 70% either. They check you during pregnancy if you became infected with the with Toxoplasma gondii, then they would give you clindamycin. There was a study in Austria here we go. This is a nice stats you should know on of the transplacental transmission. 40% of the 45 toxoplasmosis. Of these 45 toxoplasmosis, it crosses the transplacenta. Okay, for example, we'll do it this way. They took 100 women, for example. I'm just giving you numbers. They take 100 women, they give them Toxoplasma gondii. That's illegal. I'm just making it up. Okay, they give them 100 women, pregnant women that they never had it before, right? They give them Toxoplasma gondii. Out of those 100 women that get Toxoplasma gondii, only 45 of them, are you listening? Only 45 of them, the Toxoplasma gondii can cross the placenta and get to the baby. You got it? The other 55%, nothing happens. And that's what I mean by Russian roulette. If a person becomes infected during pregnancy, the odds is 50-50, 45, 55. Okay? The odds are 50-50 that he crossed the placenta, and out of those 45% that cross the placenta, 60% of them, out of those 45, 60% of them have subclinical, the babies, problems. 9% will die, miscarriage. 30% have hydrocephalus, you saw the picture of it, and mental retardation. And that's a wide range, all the way from hydrocephalus, which ends to death, or mental retardation. That's a wide, what kind of mental retardation? It's a wide range of mental retardation. Oh, I didn't talk about this. What happened when I was in Tennessee working on these organisms, students, veterinary students came to my advisor and said, can I drink a vial of Toxoplasma gondii? I'm a vet student. I don't have sex. I'm not going to have babies. I just want to become infected with it now. So later on in my life, if I come across it during pregnancy, when I want to become pregnant, I should not have any problem. And my advisor said no, because of two things. Number one, this organism have shown in some cases it goes into the eye and makes people blind. It takes a long time, 20 years or so after the time. That's after the onset of infection until later on. Second thing, you don't know what life is going to bring you. You might become, you might get some cancer, and then you have to take immunosuppressant drugs. When you take immunosuppressant drugs to suppress your immune system, what will happen? Then Toxoplasma gondii go from bradyzoid to tachyzoid stage, and they don't stop. They just multiply and multiply and kill you. Arthur Ashe, a great tennis player, as you know, what happened, he became infected with HIV, but he had Toxoplasma gondii from previously in his life. I know what happened. Toxoplasma gondii claimed his life. Okay, so that's why there is no vaccine, and that's why in the lab we didn't give him we had bradyzoids and oocysts in the lab. We didn't give him any. We had oocysts in the lab. We didn't give him any. Okay. Here is a list of some of the organisms that can cause death in AIDS patients, and right here. So nothing to worry about that slide. So wrapping it up, Toxoplasmogenic prevention, no vaccine. There is no vaccine available, and all meat should be cooked at 70 Celsius. So if you're having steak, right in the middle of it, if you put a thermometer right in the middle of it, it's probably not 100, it's not 70 Celsius, it translates to 158 Fahrenheit. Try that. Get one of those thermometers and put it right in the middle of the steak. And that's how people become infected. Okay. Goat's milk and only goat's milk, not cow's milk. Goat's milk should be boiled and pasteurized. Okay. The cow's milk, yes, it should be pasteurized. It has other cow's milk, has other diseases, but in case of goat's milk. Pork is, they've done many studies, and it shows that pork is #1 cause of infection of Toxoplasma gondii in the United States, and also in Europe and other parts of the world. So we are not becoming infected with beef, but pork, it seems like it causing a lot of problems. Pregnant women should be careful when they go out gardening. They should wear a mask. They should boil goat's milk. The cross-contamination, you use your knife to cut pork, you cut goat's milk, mittens, whatever you cut, lamb, and then use the same knife without washing it, you cut your lettuce. It's called cross-contamination. And then you get it from your lettuce, and you cook your meat very well. Okay, so these are the things. 80% of Parisians have Toxoplasma gondii. People who live in Paris, 80% of them have Toxoplasma gondii. And I don't think there is that much cat that many cats inside of Paris that infects people. So why the conclusion came up from that study is pork is causing those infections in Paris. These are the list of the drugs I'm giving you. Do not worry about them. Just clindamycin. You should worry about that one. This is an interesting study in Graz, Austria. They've done one study, and they once a pregnant woman was diagnosed with Toxoplasma gondii, received chemotherapy, clindamycin, and the cases were from 0 to 1,000 birth. So out of 1,000 birth, nobody became infected with Toxoplasma gondii. They gave them medication during childbirth. And of course, they test them during pregnancy, before pregnancy, and middle of pregnancy. You know, if they had common cold symptoms, flu-like symptoms, they looked at it. Okay, these are, I'm not worried about it. It just goes between tachyzoids, bradyzoids, tachyzoids, bradyzoids, none of these. Quickly, let's talk about this. If, again, what happened, this is what I've done. I've done a test on Toxoplasma gondii. For example, this was my blood right here. I did not have Toxoplasma gondii. As you can see, the dead Toxoplasma gondii were settled on the bottom of the wells. Each one of this is a well. 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 And then this was my advisor, my major professor, and she was positive for Toxoplasma gondii, and she had a daughter. She went to Harvard, got PhD, well, postdoc, and then I think PhD there too. I can't remember. But anyhow, brilliant young lady, and she's in Tennessee now teaching. But having said that, so these are, you know, the Toxoplasma gondii interact with her antibody, the dead Toxoplasma gondii interacted with her antibody, and you saw these cloudy things. So she was positive. This person was negative all the way across. This person was positive. He had Toxoplasma gondii. This person was positive. This person was positive. This person was positive. This person was positive. All of these people were positive. Okay. If there was a person that would be negative, it would be like that one, like me. That's why every time we ran the test, we had to run a positive and a negative, a control, as you guys know. Anyhow, so then that's for my dissertation, the stuff that I've done, and that's the end of Toxoplasma gondii stuff. If you guys have any question, please let's ask it during review sessions.